Blessed day, soul family. Welcome back. Another week. We are here in March. It is the 9th, and this is the calendar series for 2026 of the Martial Mystic. Another Monday. So, Mondays we do Mental Health Monday. And we're going to go over the four stages to liberation as taught by my teacher, resourcing Buddhist and Taoist texts. We'll look at Four Noble Truths. We'll look at the Qigong of relationship. And um, let's see, what else? We've got the phenomena of the mental constructs and the mental frameworks. So let's get right in. Here on Mental Health Mondays, we want to look at how the ancient arts and knowledge can provide not just mental well being, but how it's connected to physical well being. So, usually we talk about the bottom up approach in terms of first addressing and regulating the physical body and allowing that to facilitate mental well being, as opposed to the top down approach, typically something like talk therapy, and allowing that to um, filter through and into the body and manifest through um, action and deed. So in martial arts, we talk about the morality of mind and morality of deed, and we talk about the martial moralities. So, how these are important to keep one um, stable, conscious, and making the right decisions, especially when it comes to martial arts. The moralities consist of morality of mind and morality of deed, humility, respect, righteousness, trust, loyalty, will, endurance, perseverance, patience, and courage. All of these things are under the banner of benevolence for the good, um, and altruism. So, if any of these are coming from another place that's not benevolence, then that essentially voids the action. And it's challenging, it's difficult because when we talk about martial arts, we're talking about survival, we're talking about life and death. So um, taking life to preserve life, we start to get to into paradoxical conundrums and seemingly conflicting perspectives. So, for example, people might think that martial arts and practicing and training martial arts is supporting violence. And we could see, if you're just looking at sort of fight sports um, culture, you can say that, yeah, it's not perpetrated well, but many things that are blasted out over large media streams are, we could say, are skewed and diluted from their original state and usage. For example, we talk about martial arts being um, a system of conflict resolution and dispute resolution at a time where people were protecting themselves through hand-to-hand combat. And the example I often use is wushu, stopping the weapon. Martial arts, Chinese martial arts described as wushu, means to stop the attack, stop the weapon, don't continue usage of force. This also aligns with NVC, nonviolent communication, the protective use of force to protect life. So sometimes force is needed. The higher level, the highest levels of this we see in the manifestation of Tai Chi Chuan. Tai Chi Chuan only using force that is needed, and in fact, using the incoming force, borrowing the force that is incoming, but very high level. Um, in in physical, and then so in the physical realm, in combat, in the verbal realm, challenging as well, and in the mental realm. So we have those three realms where nonviolence helps us, um, with our moral action, moral deed, moral mind. So I mean, I would sort of describe these as sort of mystical manifestations, mental health phenomena. We're looking at the nature of our inner state, the nature of our inner being, and we have to continue to explore and look. So this brings us to the four stages of liberation and enlightenment. First is, and there's an article which I'll link to by my teacher. Um, I'll put it in the description, but it's also in a lot of his books as well. Um, in order to calm and concentrate mind to lead the chi, you must first learn how to regulate your emotional mind. It's not an easy task. In Qigong practice, the emotional mind remains the main obstacle to progress. When you practice, you must be patient and proceed step by step to deal with the problem. That's why the first stage is self recognition. The second stage is self awakening. The third stage is freedom. Uh, wait. No, sorry. It's recognition, awakening, no, a recognition, awareness, self awareness, then self awakening, and then freedom from emotional bondage. Freedom from emotional bondage. So there's a few examples that come to mind. So, how do you know if drama or conflict are negatively impacting your life, well-being, and your mental health? Okay? So we have to look at, are we conscious of the things that we do and why we're doing them? Are we conscious of the words that we are saying and why we are saying them? Are we conscious of the thoughts that we are having and why we are having those thoughts? We have to look and know and remember that as soon as we exit out the womb, we start to become conditioned to society. So this can be good or bad. This helps us survive within a society, and this can lead us into just boxed corners, boxed rooms, mentally and emotionally, and then even physically. Hence the term the matrix and brainwashing, right? And another way to think about this is packaged commodities. Is life a packaged commodity itself? So, for example, you go to school, you go to get good grades, get to a good college, marry a good person, obtain a good wife, a good dog, um, and raise good kids. This could We could say this is sort of a packaged um, idea of life, living, career, and whatnot, similar to a packaged cracker or a packaged nut bar that you may find uh, that has been, what would you say, um, aggregated from what someone else thinks is going to be good for you and then presented to you in a package. Whereas in Nature Gong Fu and in the path towards liberation, we're looking at what's going to be good for us, what is going to be good for ourselves as an individual soul, spirit, person, person living on the planet and living in this realm. That's a continued driving factor of our thoughts, our life, our living, and being conscious, attentive, and monitoring our three energy centers, we're likely to be in more accordance. We're likely to be in balance, and we are likely to um, ascertain the the messages that we are supposed to get to know what to do in our lives. Meditation here, when we can relax, sit, let it be, we can connect to the earth, we can connect to um, the heavens, we can connect to the sky, um, essentially earth energy and heaven energy, and through cultivated repetition of sitting meditation and even moving meditation, you can get a lens of yourself, you can get a lens of the world, and you can get a lens of how you interact with the world. For me, I was able to, um, luckily, difficult to explain, but I was able to live out my childhood dream. I was able to manifest, if you will, or harmonize with the what I think is the energy of nature, what I think is the energy of the Tao, what I think is sort of my divine path, and then also all of the external um, material accordances that had to come together for me to grow up and eventually live, train, practice, and learn from a teacher full time. When I was a kid, that's what I desired and dreamed of for myself. And I was able to find the right program, find the right people, and apply and submit an application, go through an interview process, and achieve that goal. Unsure through the journey, but hopeful, inspired, and always moving forward optimistically. In a way, always keeping faith. So, a lot of these decisions I made that brought me to this place, I can't really explain, or it's hard to say what exact decision. Obviously, I pursued martial arts, but it's hard to say, well, because through the course of my life, the uh, decisions that I made led me to my teacher, meeting him, and attending the program and moving to Northern California, where I live now, and moving to the mountains. But it all can be traced back. Everything theoretically can be traced back to one source. So if we are able to harmonize with that source, then we are in accordance with the great Tao. We can be in harmony with the great Tao and with everything that is, everything that is in existence, because we are already connected to the myriad of things, the 10,000 things. I want to show, let's go to our calendar image because I think it'll speak to this as well. So, our poetry for March says if one is able to keep the true singularity, zhen yi, the wu ji state, then the breathing will not be to and fro. It's like the fetus in the mother's womb. This is called great steadiness. So, the breathing to and fro is like the mind to and fro. When we're talking about mental health and when we're talking about mental well being, phenomena of the mind, and manifestations of the mind, we can see the connection here between if one is able to keep image and the energy of Wu Ji, then the breathing won't be to and fro, the thinking won't be to and fro, and the actions won't be to and fro. A concept, an idea of taking one step at a time towards a path. For me, I had a particular interest in martial arts. I kept pursuing martial arts study, practice, and training. And so here we are to this day. I still talk about martial arts, meditation, and how it's impacted my life. And then also how I guess now I'm talking about how I was able to manifest my childhood dream. And how does that relate to mental health? Well, optimism, faith, discipline, encouragement, and meditation. Meditation led me also to taking this path. I had an, a mind, a reflective mind for meditation, and then when I found formal meditation, I I pursued that in my program. So I still continue to this day with meditation. Our teacher talks about embryonic breathing meditation as the basis for um, all of the Qigong and the Tai Chi that we do. Embryonic breathing, and this is um, testament to his writing because he is also here in this quote or poetry that he puts in his book addressing the fetus in the womb. So, what does that have to do with mental health, mind, and thinking? When we are in the womb, we are a clean slate. We have no thought, we have no thinking, we have no constructs of what is right, what is wrong, what is this color, what is that word, who this type of person is, who that type of person is. As we grow, learn the ways of society, we begin to put labels on things, judge this as right or wrong, and look at this person in a certain way. And we start to put people in their boxes, put things in their boxes. So there's a yin and yang aspect to this. The the um, the aspect that allows us to communicate and to continue surviving in society and knowing what we're talking about when we talk about things. But then there's also the detriment of judgment. It was Krishnamurti who said the highest form of intelligence is observation, observation without judgment. So the mind and the thinking and the constructs that we build eventually they can run our minds. Are we conscious of why we're thinking our thoughts? Oh, well, that comes back to, well, my family used to have this thinking about this type of person, or um, uh, let's take, for example, marijuana. In the area that I'm in, marijuana is accepted, it's cultivated, it is not necessarily worshipped, but it's relied upon, but it is revered and respected as an herb, as a plant, as a medicine. Me and my thinking growing up through the 80s DARE campaign, my sense and thought was don't get involved with any sort of drugs, including marijuana. So now we talk about the Qigong of relationship, right? Interacting and interfacing with the things of the world where we desire to develop a relationship or we desire to step away or step out of or sever a particular relationship. But the qigong of relationship is something that I'm going to continue to pursue more because the qigong of relationship, it and this pertains to mental health because you are assessing, monitoring, and modulating your self, your being, and how you interact with the world. Qigong inherently has this aspect of cultivating relationship. Gong Fu is the cultivation of being one with your art, your skill, your practice, your weapon. Um, Qi Gong is becoming one with your ailment or your illness to harmonize with it. The messages that the body sends through pain is the message and the opportunity to develop and reestablish relationship with body or particular movement. And this is what I call the making friends with pain. So when it comes to health, this and injury prevention and rehabilitation, maintenance and improving well-being and function of the body, I call this making friends with pain to assess the vitality of this particular ailment that is coming to your attention in order to harmonize with it. That's the opportunity that Qigong and Tai Chi allows us because we have to coexist with it and not just with the things that disrupt our thinking or disrupt our minds or our lives. We have to look at the message and why it's coming into our sphere, our mind. And this goes back to people in our sphere, people in our thinking, people that may um, pose as a threat, a perceived threat in terms of enemy imaging, relationship issues, conflict in relationships. So on Resolution Thursday, we're going to be looking at how to um, get out of cycles of drama, cycles of conflict, and how they may be disrupting your life or coming up in your life, whether you are aware of it or not. So um, that's what I wanted to share today, the 4 stages of liberation meditation as taught by my teacher. So let's go through this just a little bit more so we can get a better understanding. We'll read this through. Self-recognition is the first stage, and this is important. My teacher talks about this a lot. You drop your mask, and this is um, being real and authentic, facing your true self, being able to face your true self, what is really coming up for you, and being with it, sitting with it, accepting it, and and letting it be. So here it's possible that the emotional mind can become very active. So if people have started meditation or if people start to activate in some way, this could this could seem like the problem is getting worse or exacerbated, right? But what it could possibly mean, we never really know, is that the door is finally opening and you're allowing that energy to circulate. So this is crucial in communication and conflict. Opening the door, it could seem like, oh my gosh, they're just going at each other, getting worse. But that energy with the right set and setting needs to circulate so that it can find harmony. That's why we study mediation. That's why we study nonviolent communication. The second stage is regulating, of this regulating is self-awareness after self-recognition, self-awareness. In this stage, you begin to understand the problem of emotional bondage. The problem of emotional bondage. How does it affect your life when you recognize emotion? How is it affecting your action, your thinking, your speech, right? You might end up in jail. You might end up in an argument with a partner. You might end up just super angry, frustrated at a family member. Um, and we all have our own journeys with how we approach these things. The third stage is self-awakening. In this stage, your rational mind has clearly derived an understanding of the emotional problem and is looking for a way of setting you free from emotional bondage. The last stage is freedom from emotional bondage. So remember that emotional bondage and freedom of emotional bondage comes back to regulating the mind and regulating the emotional mind, the monkey mind, to cultivate the wisdom mind. When we can cultivate the wisdom mind, then we can act in accordance with, as a martial artist, martial morality. As a civil citizen, we can move with courage and be activate and disrupt and move with impact in a world, but in a way that can balance that with nonviolence, with speaking so that your message can be received, thinking in a way that minimizes enemy images, and being a little bit more balanced, not confrontational, not aggressive, but in engaging, but interfacing in a way that can sustain relationship. Because if the other person walks away, moves away, you can't get your message across, even though you might have the right message or it's going to be helpful to the other party. If they turn their back or if they're not willing to receive it, then you're at a loss. So that is the qigong of relationship, bringing ourselves to a mental place where we can be engaged, we can seek to be engaged. We don't have to act with aggression. We don't have to meet force with force, and liberating ourselves from emotion, especially if you are a victim of your emotion. Because for some people, they can be fairly relaxed and and not aggressive or violent um, already, but learning how to find your voice in the world, you could be aggressive or you could approach someone aggressively, but you're just trying to be assertive. So you also have to have that continued as you express externally, you have to have the internal reflective perspective as well. That excuse me, your mind is balanced in internally assessing yourself, addressing yourself, looking at yourself, your monkey mind, and externally, are you getting your point across? Are you reaching the other person? Are they receiving your message? And so um, th- th- this helps us to get out of states that are overcome states of anxiety, overcome states of depression, um, overcome these low level energy states that keep us from achieving our goals, communicating, moving through the world in a way where we can have the impact and achieve our dreams. So I hope that that speaks to you. This is we'll continue to talk about the qigong of relationships this week, tomorrow, um, Tai Chi Tuesday. So the meditation that I'll provide with you for today is um, if you feel that you're experiencing mental depression, anxiety, or instability from being hurt, being betrayed, as you would describe it, being disrespected, or being stabbed in the back, as you would describe it. You might describe it in this way. This is not necessarily my terminology, but I understand this is how people frame things, and can frame things in the world, which we're okay with. What we need to do is understand the Four Noble Truths. There is suffering, there is attachment and um, aversion that causes suffering. There is freedom from the suffering, and the eightfold path provides the freedom. So those Four Noble Truths, understanding that there's suffering and sitting and letting it be, being with your suffering, understanding that people especially the Buddhists that have come through many millennia, have sat with suffering, understanding that suffering exists and coexisting with the suffering in the world. And so, this is what we can provide for ourselves when we are experiencing suffering, have experienced suffering, understanding that it's a part of the human experience. One step, one part of that, of the healing process, going back to recognizing, is that recognition of suffering is here, and it may be here now. We can take a deep breath. And then we invite the law of impermanence in. Everything is temporary. Everything is temporary. So, with those two understandings, you can provide repetition and practice, if you will, to sit with one's suffering, letting it be, self recognition, allowing for the awakening. What's the message of the emotion? What's the message of this um, trauma? What's the message here? Allowing it to be a message, similar to the way that we take pain in the body, how it's a message to help rediscover relationship. So, Resolution Thursday, we talk more about actual relationship with friends, loved ones, family, whatnot. Wellness Wednesday, we'll talk about how this helps us to feel lighter and to take these loads off of our back, to provide a quality of Qigong, a quality of being where we're feeling healthy and well in the world. So I will finish with this quote I really like from Ram Dass that spoke to me um, when when I was also on my time in the mountain. And the quote goes by, "We are all just walking each other home. We are all just walking each other home." And I would just ask you to meditate on this idea of walking each other home. If you can understand that home, deep humanity, healthy, healing home could be, just could be, what we call love, trust, respect, and honesty, then when we have those moments and those instances and those interactions where we're not given that love, trust, and healthy harmony, those moments can help us with the appreciation of the moments where we are given that love and that respect and that trust and that honesty, and how if we can learn from ourselves and from one another about how we treat one another in this earth school, then we can continue to walk and to guide each other to that place. And it could be beyond, the great beyond. That could be the home. It could be the the great beyond inside at the heart's home. And um, it could be the great beyond to a person of that you love, or a partner, or a family member, or a friend who you feel like the relationship has been um, severed or is not stable. So thank you for your time today, and remember to embrace the woo. Until next time, may your chi flow smoothly.